I'm Brynn Rydell, and I play with glass. Grew up here in Washington State on Stilcombe Lake in Lakewood, and moved to Gig Harbor after many trips around the different states of living and college. And then got married, and my husband and I came out here about 40 years ago and bought this house to fix up and flip. We're still here. I got into glass because I worked at Peninsula Middle School, and one of the art teachers, Jan Boudet, asked me if I wanted to learn how to do lampwork glass. And I said, well, what is that? She said, making glass beads. And I went, like, how? Molten glass? And she said, yes. And I said, when? Because I really liked the idea of playing with molten glass. So I went over to her house and we played with beads one afternoon, and then it went systemic. I had to do it. And I had to do it for one reason, is it stopped my brain. I could just focus on this one thing. Within 2 weeks, I had carved out a little niche, which was like right here. This used to be my husband's office, and I carved out a little place where I could do glass. And I bought a torch, and I bought rods of glass, not this many, and started playing. And one day my husband said, what are you going to do with all these beads? And I said, make more. From there, Margot McDonald, my dear friend, called one day and said, I need 2 necklaces for the Charles Wright auction. Well, I don't do jewelry. She goes, we have a month to figure it out. Thank you, Margot. So here I went. So I started making beads and stringing them with other components and making necklaces. And then from there, I got bored and had to make pendants. And then I took a class for PMC, which is silver clay, and started incorporating that into my pendants. And then I took some classes from other bead makers. Some of the best in the world live right here in Washington. Andrea Garino, Karina Tettinger, and Michael Bartley. And I took classes from all of them. Most lampwork bead makers have a signature bead, and they make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, and they really fine-tune it. I get too bored. I can't do it. I was constantly figuring out different things to do. I started making candle votives and putting them on driftwood and making candelabras and knobs for cabinetry. Just on and on and on it went. And then I got cancer, and I just couldn't be here at the torch anymore. It was too much. You have to spend too much time, and I didn't have the strength to do that. So I picked up some old copper sheeting and started playing with that. And then I started making copper necklaces, because that was really quick and easy. And then I took some classes, again from Andrea, and learned how to do silver and started making bracelets. And I come over here and I decide, what colors do I want? What gets along, what doesn't get along, what has contrast, what doesn't. And sometimes I just do slapdash. So these take the yellow out so I can see what I'm doing. Otherwise, you can't see what you're doing. I'm going to make a stringer. So I'm going to pull a piece of glass out, temper it, and pulling a stringer and making colors in it is just kind of another color in which to do. So this one I'll just do quickie, and I'll do a green and orange with maybe some blue. So this is called getting a gather on your bead. Now I'm going to put some orange on there. And blue on the back side. Add some orange. And then heat it all up until it's really viscous. and then pull and twist. That cool over there. Now, you have to heat your mandrel up, the bead release up until it glows nice and orange. And at this point, if I don't really have a plan, I just wing it. And even if I have a plan, sometimes I change the plan. What I loved about all this is that you really have to concentrate on keeping the bead round. You can always take it out of the flame to cool it down. And they cool, the outer shell cools fairly rapidly. And then you just lay this on. I'm going to do just a squirrely motion around here. Oops, got a little cattywampus. And from here you could add to it, you could take away from it. Taking away is very difficult. Adding's easy. I could change the shape. Should we change the shape? Let's do that. Let's change the shape. So this is a marver. It's made out of graphite. You could write letters with it. Let's add another color. Let's put red in there. Okay. Let's let this cool. This should go into the kiln, but we didn't turn it on. So it is going to sit here, and when it cools off, it will crack in half. Well, my setup is rain gutters that I cut down, and I put my glass in them to hold them, and basically approximate all the same glass or same tone of color, or very expensive glass or glass that does strange things. I put an end to them. Like this one is intense black. It bleeds out. It does Madras bleeding. And then some others are so expensive that they have to be just tidied away, and be careful with them. The Fritz are up there. Some are so fine crushed glass that you can roll your bead in. It's almost enamel. So silver and gold infused rods are really expensive. And can you see the sheen on there? And they react by either a reduced flame or a striking flame. Striking is more oxygen, reduced is more propane. And some of them strike in the kiln, and they have to soak at a certain temperature for so long, and then you get a color, and you don't know what you did until the next morning. And there's all the stringers that you make, which are all like different colors, a ton. You can have some that are rolled in silver and around another piece of glass, like it works best with dark ivory. And sometimes you do things that you don't even know that you did, and then you have to try to figure it out. This piece I made out of copper. It was my first beginning of playing with copper, and I strung 5 of my black and white beads on it, and I would love to find a model to model it, because I just think it's striking with a brass finding on the top. This was drilling a rock and making a bail, which I think I made way too small for this, and then I put on a little bit of gold leaf and some copper leaf and drilled some holes and put little onyx beads in there. This is one of my favorite. It's not for sale. And I just love the red, white, and black. And this is going through cancer and playing with copper. And I cut out a shape in copper, I fold it in half and pound the heck out of it, and then anneal it with a torch, and then pound it some more and anneal it again, and then I take a razor blade to open it up and I get these great colors. And then I ran a Dremel tool of sandpaper around the edges just to brighten it up and added internal components. These are skewers. My boys use them for martinis and or hors d'oeuvres, and I just call them my slapdash beads. They're really quick and fast and easy. These are my votives that I make for candles. So here's a votive on a piece of driftwood. Here is a large one of the candelabra, the votives, the bead, the driftwood. So I walk the beach a lot looking for wood. Here's another piece that's copper and silver, and this is a lot of silver in this bead, silver leaf, with the intense black that kind of smooshes it out, and also rolled in a clear glass so you get spots. I think I talked earlier about doing an ivory gather and rolling it in silver and pulling a stringer. Well, this is what it does, are those dots on the black. And then this is a piece of green turquoise and silver.